work, and we wait for the speakers. Mariya. And it happened so that we meet and discuss the problems in reforming the sphere of education, but unfortunately, this is a reaction on crisis. And the situation is unique because we are going to speak about the future, not about the perspective of 1 or 2 years, but the prospects for Ukrainian education for tens of years. So people who are involved in reforms of education, they have strategic views. And I give the floor to the speakers, and they are going to tell us about the future of Ukrainian education. Good afternoon. I'm Oleg Derevianko. I am a Deputy Minister of Education, and Nataliya Viatkina, Director of the Institute for Modernization of Education Content, Mariya Boguslav. She is a leader of the Forum of Civil Education. And I want to thank Media Center of Reforms, not Crisis Center, but Media Center of Reforms. And thank you for the opportunity to speak about education, because education, this is the news on education. Mainly the topics for the 1st of September about schools, and then on the entrance campaign, and also there are there's an opinion that it's easy to gather against something, but it's difficult to gather for something, to support something. And I'm grateful to all the journalists who joined us for the opportunity to speak about it and to provide information. And we are going to speak now not about dogma or an official plan. It's a vision how our education can develop in the direction of its modernization, not just to reform for the sake of reform, but when we are speaking about reforms, we should also ask ourselves why we do these reforms. And all these reforms have the goal to improve the quality of education, but even the quality is not the end goal. What do we need this quality for? So this information, and do you have some? Okay, next slide, please. We plan and propose to the journalists to speak about such a thing as a new school. And in our opinion, one more remark. I want to say that in this presentation, we want to speak about school education, and also we will speak less about the system of formal higher education, because in the system of higher education, the ministry and the public, they pay a lot of attention to this issue, and this issue is discussed, and of course many things should be done, but still there was less attention to the to schools from the part of reform, and I'll explain further what I mean. If we are speaking about new school, we have 4 elements. This is new content, new curricula, new teachers, and here I want to say that we won't replace all the teachers for the new ones. We say that these should be teachers who are professionals, who will help children to study, and this is new technical and material base, and also this year we started this activity, and we have the support of the Ministry of Finance. And despite difficult times, we should accumulate resources, of course, for defense and other areas, but we were able to get 100 million hryvnias at the level of state in order to start modernization of our chemistry and physics laboratories at schools. And this is very important, and also new management system, decentralizations, hub schools. When a school in a territorial communities, they don't have separate resources to renew all the schools and make them modern. And we should go step by step. And the first step is the practice that exists in many states, and it's successful in the transitional periods when they create hub schools that are equipped with high standard equipment. They have all laboratories, and they work as centers of best practices and centers of excellence. And the schools that are in the same territorial community, they work like affiliates to this hub school. And each student can also be exposed to these modern methods and practices. Thank you. This is very convenient. And if we are speaking about new school, new curricula, first we should speak about new literacy and the skills of the 21st century that are composed of 4 new levels of literacy that a person needs now. And these 4 levels are finance, digital, civil, and global levels of literacy. The people should be financially literate. And then digital literacy, of course, people should understand that they should be citizens of their state, the responsibilities. And also we should understand global context. And maybe this understanding is lacking now, and we didn't focus on this level. So there are some achievements, and we will speak about it further, about some projects. And as to the global context and the understanding by Ukrainian that he is a part of a global world and he can influence it and he can develop himself globally, this is a very important component that we should teach our children from the very beginning, and to provide them with opportunity to see themselves not only in the context of Ukraine, but also globally. And 3 skills that are very important of thinking, cooperation, communication, and also this is a really big part, and we separate it into a separate block. And when we speak about, next slide, please, and when we speak about the future of our education, we should be oriented not on some developing Ukrainian bike, but here I mean the models of management of education and understanding what skills are needed in the 21st century, what literacy is needed in the 21st century. But we also should be innovative, and we should be oriented to the best world models. We shouldn't copy them 100%. And of course, we Ukrainians can create new innovation approaches, and we are going to speak about it further, but we should orient on some background, on some basics and the objective data as to what systems exist in the world and what are the best of them. And Ukraine is going to join to PISA research, and this is the global research assessment of students, and we can find the information where we are placed among other countries of the world. And this system was introduced in Poland in 1990s. They thought that everything is good with their system, but then they conducted this research, and they found out that they have many problems, and then they started develop their system. Their system is leading in the world. And what is the main emphasis when we compare the world of the past with the world of the future? The focus is shifted to the use of practical application of knowledge and the development of not only of intelligence, intellectual potential, but also emotional intelligence, all types of intelligence: mental intelligence, psychological intelligence, and emotional intelligence, and physical intelligence, and also spiritual intelligence. And here we noted two of the most important ones, and scientific intelligence and emotional intelligence, and also, in addition to the classic, mental intelligence. And one more important thing is there's the soft skills, not only subjects, but also a person in the 21st century should orient and should think critically and creative, and be able to communicate with different people, and to express his or her idea to the audience, and to realize one's potential and to reach results that are needed by society also. And the separate part is digital education, and here it's a separate segment we want to focus our attention on. And there should be integrated lessons and passports of professions, and we can speak about it in more detail, and different forms of education. Here in Ukraine we have examples. For example, in Lviv there was an example to conduct the lesson, and children, teenagers, they have opportunity there's a simulation of real adult life when they get their own roles, and together with the person, such a businessman or an owner of a cafe or head of some department in city administration, so different professional roles, and children, they spend time playing this role and trying to understand how this works in real life, and in such a way they have the opportunity to understand the essence of this profession and its attractiveness, and also to see whether this profession is interesting for them. And of course, there are teachers, and then teachers plus tutors. There are people who teach subjects, and there are people who look how this material is understood and how to implement the skills and to use this material in practice.
Again, we are talking about some kind of expansion, what we mentioned before. In fact, if you continue this topic, what's the difference between the world of the past and the world of the future, that we not just have to bring up or educate the smart people or intelligent people, we have to place an accent and emphasis on the civil conscience. It's not that we just studied in the high school and the higher school or university and then we continue to learn during the whole life of ours, but we have to change the accents or emphasis in the education to help not only the children but also the adult to understand not only their objectives, their goals, but what kind of values underlie the actions or those objectives. And in fact, we are talking about the so-called values-based leadership or values-based and based life. When the objectives are kind of landmarks and the objectives are not the self-goal for the people, the person actually understands the values, it puts or sets himself or herself the goal and understands or comprehends the values. And they can actually adapt or adjust their objectives depending on these or other circumstances or different circumstances. They understand the basic values, which is very important for the human being to feel happy. And this is also a very important component for us to educate our children how to be successful, not only successful, but happy as well. According to the format of education, in addition to offline, there is also online education. There are a lot of initiatives which crop up, and we have to understand how we can use them to the best possible effect, speaking about the formal and informal education, and also the fact that education can be not just the formal process when a person is issued a diploma or certificate. Education can be a real social elevator lift when the person understands that education can help her or him to live in this world and not only take care of some kind of the duty before their parents, but when they realize that their university education will help them to realize or to implement their values and move along the road which they prefer to embark upon. Again, we will often say or talk what we have to do, and we're only in a few cases, not for a long time, we say how it should be done. Before I give the floor to my colleague from the Institute of Education, this is the key establishment in the system of education, which had to, Mariya Boguslav, which has to play a special role between different stakeholders and, so to say, players in the whole system of education, not only formal, because the education, you know, is a multifaceted thing. It has different manifestations and the formats. There is the self-governance system. There are school and extramural education. There is kind of self-education of the people. You know, all those diverse components, they are actually, all of them work in order for the person to further develop and acquire the education and intelligence which this person is striving for. And if you're talking about reforming, then they need to create new curricula, new quality of the professors, the teachers. We have to have some kind of administrative unit which could coordinate all those activities. And I believe that this can be the Institute of Modernization of Education. Now I'd like to give the floor to Nataliya Viatkina, Director of the Institute for Modernization Education Content, for her to tell what this institute takes care of, what they are doing actually. Nataliya Viatkina, Director of Modernization and Content of Education Institute. So please speak into the microphone. If we focus our attention on the three tasks at least, to educate young people, a kid or a child, for this child to carry out the function in him life, to prepare those children for life, for the work, and to be a citizen. We proceeded from those three tasks. In this way, we can describe our chapter to turn the old institute, which exists for many years, into a new institute for modernization and education content. What modernization means? This is not just the name of our institute, this is the process and desired result. We cannot say that we already completed this modernization. We are on the way or the path to make education a modern one, which would meet all those requirements of those tasks. You can see in the screen and see how the previous institute was like, which actually was turned into different institutes. One which I represented, the Institute of Analysis, which is maybe will be presented or represent this center. We are talking about 612 employees, which can be compared with some kind of plant or factory, but not the institute. Actually, maybe only the institute named after Patton of the National Academy of Science, if you take together with all the workshops, etc. But here we're talking about the education establishment institute. You can see the figures of employees in all the divisions, departments. We have the big number of those employees which took care of the different methodics and took care of all the kind of competition contests, let's say profession oriented, etc., etc. Since we created this institute for the new tasks given to us, so then the composition of our divisions and departments has been reduced drastically. We can see that our personnel number was reduced by 23%, and the cost of those who just left our institute, who were not, who did not agree with the new specialization of our institute, those who worked part-time, etc., etc. And they actually did not work, but they were just coming to the institute at 11 o'clock and left their working place at 2 p.m. Unfortunately, we still have some of this kind of employees. The day number has diminished drastically. But those 350, almost 350 employees, which make up the personnel of our institute, they work on along the new requirements. I would like to say that the previous employees in the previous institute, they understand the tasks set before our new institute, because we were guided by those new tasks. This is the case, I would say, which is a very actual case in our institutions and establishments, when we actually fixed or record the most modern trends in the global education, like informal and formal education, such as STEM education. By the way, STEM education has not been fixed yet in the law on education, but it already exists in our institute. So we already carried out a roundtable and held a conference, and we achieved some success and implemented almost everything which is being done in the sphere of education. Speaking about the natural science or ecological science, this is only one branch of education which I'm talking about. We have a lot of different new things like ethics and research, studying languages, diaspora and national minorities problems. We tried to cover within our structure almost all the components of education existing today. Only higher education we do not work much in this area because they set as a task autonomy of different higher education establishments, so we cannot dictate to higher institutes or universities what they have to do, and they do not have those kind of centralized directives or tasks set from above. First of all, we place an emphasis on different levels of education, age-oriented, age-based, and education level-based. We take in consideration the skills available or from, let's say, financial literacy. We do not place emphasis on the term education bringing up, because this is not the kind of term of the ideologized term. We do not have ideological pressure or some kind of the limits which could be uh, determined by anyone, to us. We try to develop and educate the children for themselves and for our society. This is absolutely different quality of the task we face. And maybe this is what the modernization education is all about. But we should not expect quick or fast results. This is a very strenuous and slow process. And we have a new department for training of the teachers, and the change of the school management and the renovation of the contents of education, on the forms of the content presentation. We have different digital means and ways of education and kind of upturned classroom and stuff like that. And the teachers have to master all that and know how to use all those things. But anyway, the children's interest, so-called, when the children are in the focus of our attention. And all this modernization has to be built around those children. Another component is a teacher. A teacher, and he has to shoulder a very big task of training, retraining, creation some kind of communities of teachers who can communicate between themselves, and those special courses and training courses for the children, which we already carry out. We are talking about the training for teachers and the education during their lifetime in different technologies, techniques, methodology, etc. So the process has already started along those lines. All the people who worked in the previous institute, they joined the new institute, and among those there was a very active part. I would say 25% of all the personnel. They used to work actively. They still work actively. I would like to provide them with all the opportunities to realize themselves in their work, not just to create some kind of documents, papers, orders, and all kinds of methodological recommendations. We'd like to have the experts who take care of the management content, the same content, and kind of to become curators of this content. Sometimes we have a situation when our personnel ask, "Can we take care of this specific project?" I say, "Of course you can." "Can we do something along those lines?" I say, "Of course, do, please." And the previous management, the previous structures, a big one, you could see that figure which we showed in the beginning of our presentation. They were not allowed to do something modern and to try to implement some modern approaches to the education. So actually, this point of time, I'd like to give the floor to Mariya Boguslav, who is going to tell something else.
Thank you very much, and it's very important what you said, and it's important to understand this information correctly. And in schools and in civil society, there are many opinions on this. The ministry that doesn't allow these innovations to happen, and or pose some obstacles. And the situation improved, and today the ministry and the Institute of Modernization of the Content of Education, they are the drivers not only of the legislative reforms, but also, as Nataliya said, not creating the conditions. The ministry should create and formulate the policy in the sphere of education and to create some laws and the legislative ground for these directions to be realized and be developed. But this is the task of the ministry and the Institute of Modernization of the content of education is a locomotive and the driver in the project activity where they should show how these things can be realized in practice and that the style and spirit of the management of the ministry and one of the elements of the system is the cooperation among different innovative initiatives in the sphere of education that exist in expert society, civil society. And I give the floor to Mariya Boguslav, who is going to tell us about the projects that are provided by the Forum of Civil Education, and one of them we want to focus on in more detail. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mariya Boguslav. I am coordinator of the social project, and this year we created, and this is a challenge of today, to create a program as to the civil education. This is an online platform. There are lectures, tests, free of charge from the best experts of the civil society, from the experts of and the leaders of the market, each in their own sphere. And today, officially, we provided for the system of education and this year, this is a new task, and nobody did it before us. And the online courses that exist now in the world, when there was an online revolution in education, they focused on subjects, school subjects or university subjects, and we focused on the needs of people, needs of the state, and this is the new task, and we had to start with something, and we started with a sociological study. We created the vision of the civil education. We asked people what they need, what they want to get. And we asked about skills, and in such a way, here in slide, you can see that 98% of people, they need additional skills. There's a financial literacy, psychological skills, soft skills, positive thinking, and strategic planning, creative thinking, and finding decisions for difficult problems. And in order to create educational content, we asked people what courses you need. And here you can see that people, and we expected it, and for us, some things were surprising, that people want to be 54.5% want to be more economically literate, 45.7% want to know about rights and responsibilities, and so different interests of people, social entrepreneurship, fighting corruption, and many things. And during the year, we conducted this activity because of the money provided by Visegrad Fund, and this social project was free of charge. It was created by the Students' Union. We analyzed more than 40 best online projects, and we find uniqueness. And this is uniqueness of this project. We have not online tests, but also rating system of the most active students, school children or teachers separately, so we can look at those people who want to study, because every video lecture, every test, they are in the form of the score, and we will improve our technology. And here in the slide, you see a screenshot of the site, and this is our unique development. And we want that people understand, first of all, what they need the education for, and this is the new concept of the education, new paradigm. Not that the system provided a university or the teacher, but that a person understand what is the purpose and what skills, what knowledge they need for this. So in the official educational institutions, or some courses, or some platforms, online courses, and there are 1,500 courses. Most of them are in English. They are free of charge. Or, for example, you can pay only for a diploma. And people don't know about these resources. And through our project, people can get information about it in the universities and schools. They can understand that what is going on in the world, and that we should follow the trends. And in the map of the goals, we see courses on soft skills and time management, also how to find employment, how to become an IT specialist. And this is the passport of professions that we are going to create officially in cooperation with IT companies. And we introduce it on the legislative level, and the universities, they will see what skills and knowledge are needed for the specialist in order to compete in the market. And in the system of education, the companies will provide their requirements from business to the institutions, and also this will affect taking decisions on how to fight corruption, how to learn English. All these courses are uploaded, so we hope that they will be available for the universities and schools for those who are interested. So let's try to watch Visegrad Fund by Skype. He provided funds for this project, and we hope for further cooperation, both with funds and also with the representatives of business community. And I have a question to you, and now people who work in the Institute of Modernization, do they speak English? Do all of them speak English? Because without this, it's impossible to work in this sphere. I mean, those people who work directly with this project, because this institute, not during the year, but they should forecast these trends, so they should communicate constantly. Unfortunately, not everyone speak English, but there's a part even that they say that I'm a Ukrainian and I have the right to speak only Ukrainian. So some conservatives are present, but I planned, and I already conducted several meetings, and I started them with speaking English. So there was some interest in this. So we plan together with the Department of Languages. There will be one day in English each week, and we should. Because people sometimes they were taught English, they learned English, and we now search for partners that will conduct training in English in our institute. So we work in this direction. Thank you. But sorry, this is only a remark, but as I understand, I'm a taxpayer. I think that this is not good, because I pay that people do their work correctly and not learning English by my money. So maybe you can say that this is not the case, but still, that in this sphere, the knowledge of this language is the key. Maybe you should test your employees their knowledge of English. We want to conduct testing, and we have an organization that will test our employees. But this is the content, but if you change context, so people of any profession, of any divisions, they will learn English. First, they should learn first the name of their division, then how to speak about the activity. So it's rather simple, I think, and I think that in some time many people will do this. It's a very important issue, and we know that the next year is declared as the year of foreign languages, and the initiative Go Global and the ministry take active part. So, and we have the law on state service, and but the representatives of the institute, they are not civil servants. There are requirements on for the heads of the departments and the top officials. It's very important, and what I would say is that we can't overcome current legislation, and the people who don't speak English, there's no such requirements in our law that we can fire, for example, people because they don't speak English. And maybe we should give a chance to people to learn English, and maybe it can be done. Of course, it depends on time. It's a numbers game. There's understanding that in order to learn a language, you need some hours depending on your previous knowledge and your skills. So any person can master any language. This is the policy of the leadership of the institute, but this should be connected not only with the language. Maybe Mariya knows about it, but I would like to say publicly about it that for us these initiatives are important that are from outside, not from the institute, not in the ministry. Skills Academy initiative Mariya told us about. We want to see such people in our team, in the team of the ministry, in the on the team of the institute, and we asked Mariya to become deputy director of the Institute for Modernization of Education, and to realize this project in the context of the institution. And I want officially to state this, that we asked Mariya, we invited her, and we hope that she will agree, and it will strengthen our team, and we are open for other initiatives, for all those people who want to come and help us, help the institute and the ministry to modernize the educational system, and we will cooperate officially by providing high positions for these people who are innovative and interested. Thank you.
We have the Visegrad Foundation on Skype connection.
Yes, so hello, thank you.
Thank you. We just agreed that, and thank you for supporting our project during the year, and please be welcome to say some words to our press, to our citizens about importance of civic education.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we were not following the discussion since the beginning because we couldn't, we were online, but we connected just now, so we were unfortunately not following your discussion, so it's hard to follow what video said. Of course, it's a pleasure for us to support this project. We found the support of young generation and education and of the ultimate importance in Ukraine, so we support not the education not only by projects such as this project, but also by scholarships which we provide annually several tens of scholars we provide with studies in the countries of the Visegrad Group, and also with the second program, which is called Visegrad University Studies Grants Program.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bukova.
Excuse me. I think the connection is quite bad, so...
Thank you very much anyway. We hope to continue our cooperation next years, and I just come the microphone to the Vice Minister of Education to finish our conference.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thanks. I also would like to thank you officially from the Ministry of Education, and maybe one important fact that you need to know. Are you with us? Hello? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay, so one important thing that you probably need to know is that we officially invited Mariya to join the Institute for Modernization of Educational Content and to continue this wonderful project Skills Academy officially from on behalf of the Ministry and on behalf of the Institute of Modernization of Educational Content with all the, let's say, instruments and power that the institute has, and to actually further develop it and help our formal education and informal and non-formal education to use these techniques, to use this platform, and to provide better and better content to everyone in Ukraine, so that everyone has the equal access to quality content. So thank you very much a lot, and we really hope that we will continue cooperating next year with your fund.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to see you at least like this.
Thank you.
Шановні колеги, в нас є буквально час на одне запитання.
Dear colleagues, we have time just for one question and short answer, but later we can communicate in the lounge zone or outside of this room. Anybody has a question regarding this briefing of today? Then I have a kind of clarification. Please, you said a lot today about some strategic things, but if you're talking about some specific things, can you clarify this issue? Because it's not really understood what kind of projects you're going to implement within a year, 2 or 3. What exactly would like to make happen? How are you going to ensure the connection between the future and the present day? Because we have kind of a big gap between the draft laws and the what we call the modern education. Thank you, Oksana. I believe that maybe it's reasonable to sum up this kind of visual aid, because this is really important. We are talking about our vision, our mission, our objective. It could be committed to words or in some kind of instruments of management. When we are talking about mission or vision, in different organization structures, when people come later and say, let us do this or let's do this or that, I said, okay, what you propose is good, but how are you going to help us to achieve our mission or promote our vision? Vision and mission could be not just good, nice words, but those could be realistic tools of management. We are sure that Ukraine, within a certain period of time, can become the leader of development of human capital the world over. We can see that potential not only in the IT sphere. We can see that how university and high school students become winners of different international contents. When they have we have to create the equal opportunities for all the children in respect of the place they live in. And whatever we do, it must be subordinated to this task to create high-quality education for the socially active citizens. What for? For them to realize their abilities and to help Ukraine to successfully develop under the global competition conditions. And then, hence our major tasks. Major tasks which precede, first of all, the creation of social elevators and lifts. When the education becomes a real social lift, this is a comprehensive thing, of course, For the lack of time, we cannot talk about that in detail. Creation of conditions for people's education during their whole lifespan. And the Institute, as the coordinator of those process, has to find very interesting initiatives and promote those initiatives and their development within the whole country. These are our tasks, and none of the institutes can do that on their own. We have to create the mood, the fashion for the constant the continuous education to make the profession of teacher attractive and prestigious. Without that, we cannot do anything within the scale of formal education. This we cannot implement that reform. We have to achieve the level when the most talented, the most let's say capable children go to the major universities. We had this picture in the past of our country. We have to return this back. And of course, the interaction between the state and in the education and business, we are realists and we understand that within the next 3 or 5 years, our budget will not have an extra money. Maybe later we'll have another by another more money, but not within the nearest future. But that's why it is very important to have the interaction between the state and the education and the business. In the one slide is like in here, we are talking about the example of cooperation between the Institute of Modernization with such corporations like Google or Intel or Panasonic or others. When we're talking about the Innovations Lab, there is such a website where any child or any adult person can actually come visit that and propose their ideas. We are working with Intel and other companies, and we are absolutely open for such cooperation. As Mariya mentioned, the Skill Academy was created not only with the help of the Visegrad 4, but also with the participation of business. We believe that this country has to create, or we have to take care of the very powerful movement in this country. And the president actually mentioned that during the National Council reforms, when the president of Ukraine started his speeches, if I'm not mistaken, with the Bismarck quotation that the fight is not won by generals, but by the clergy, because the clergy in those days was like a tutor, like a teacher. We have to understand that in the Ukrainian society, in a fascistic way, after the revolution, dignity started to help the army. So this kind of gap when the country did not accumulate enough resources to reform the different armed military units, and the society actually stepped in and provided this very important impetus for this development, which is not important not only what is being done, but also from the energetic point of view. We would like to have another impetus or push like that. How important it is for everybody to be involved in modernization of education and have the schools to become modern schools. Thank you very much. Those are very inspiring words. But unfortunately, we have to end this briefing because we'll have another one in a minute. So if our speakers will have time to communicate, you can do that in the lounge zone. So thanks a lot. Once again, I would like to thank the UCMC, the Center of Reforms, and the communication.